Après une journée marathon où il y a eu des échanges intéressants, parfois vifs, toujours très instructifs, nous arrivons un peu au terme d'une journée de travail. Et visiblement, l'esprit de la Teranga a prévalu.
The Teranga spirit has prevailed everywhere in the discussions.
Il y a eu des échanges assez intéressants.
Very interesting discussions, and I hope that we'll be going back from here, first with the remembrance of having gone through a new Renaissance where Africans have talked to us with their heart, about their concerns and the views that they are proposing to the partners. And to close this afternoon, we're going to hear some statements, 3 statements. Some people were wondering whether there will be a lot of discourses, but as you can see, you don't have so many people at the high table. You have 3 high-profile people: the president, the director of IMF. Has there been a change? 2 changes? Sorry, I've been contradicting you since this morning, but in a friendly manner. Well, actually, we decided that due to the billion contribution of President for this morning, Mrs. Kristalina will be actually making an address, and I'll be closing. They agreed, actually, they agreed
le président Macky Sall, le président Alassane Dramane Ouattara,
to contradict me. Well, President Ouattara and President Macky Sall, you have succeeded. Well, let's start by giving the floor to Mrs. Kristalina, Georgieva. And then someone who was not actually planned to speak, but who will be taking the floor at this afternoon. Would you like to remain seated comfortably in your chair there?
Thank you very much for including me in this closing session. I will be very short. I have just 3 very simple, straightforward points to make. The first one is to recognize President Macky Sall for turning the morning session from us speaking to you into us talking with each other. Opened up the discussion in a very productive manner. And I heard from many in the audience that you found this frank engagement to be very refreshing and also to feed into the sessions that followed afterwards. So my first message is a gratitude for the conference, but also a gratitude to President Macky Sall for being the master of ceremony this morning. My second message is also very simple and straightforward. On behalf of my colleagues at the IMF, and I would now ask IMF staff to please stand up. Stand up. We want to thank you all very much for your engagement with us. We will work for your trust. We will work to serve you to the best of our abilities every single day. It is our honor to have you in the membership, and it is our privilege to be part of Africa moving forward as the continent of opportunity. My third message is on what we have heard. we listened very carefully, and what we heard is that there is a lot we agree on. We agree on the importance of boosting investments in infrastructure, human capital, for growth, jobs, and improving in the lives of people. And to do that in a sustainable manner. And actually, I think we would agree that the French title of the conference is better than the English title of the conference. Développement durable et dette soutenable. Sounds poetic. And we agree it is a necessity and it is true. We also agree that we have to work much harder to differentiate investment destinations in Africa. That putting the whole of Africa in one category of high risk is a disservice to Africa, a disservice to investors all over the world. We will work on that. We also agree that while we are optimistic about the future of Africa, there are very high pressures and risks. Climate change, security threats, the uncertainty in the world economy that of course has spillover on Africa. And the irony is that it used to be that spillovers from Africa failures may affect the rest of the world, and now spillovers from slowdown in the rest of the world may be affecting Africa. And we need to work on making sure that we cushion these spillovers, we cushion these risks. I want to finish on a personal note. I have traveled all over Africa, almost everywhere, but not in Senegal, my very first trip to Senegal. And I'm grateful to fate for making this trip, being one with such an impressive group of African leaders and with all of you. Thank you.
La plupart des journalistes disent toujours comment on va pouvoir le faire parler. À chaque fois, on se dit, il a des choses à dire, mais comment on va pouvoir le faire parler.
Every time he or she has something to say, how can we make them speak? Well, failing the possibility of having them speak on the TV or radio, I wish you to welcome Professor for...
Il faut qu'il parle, Président.
Please, Alain, we have decided on a protocol that can't we write it? No, it has been, President Faure has been available. He has held bilateral meetings and he insisted to take part in the closing, and it was not planned that he speaks at the closing. So please don't insist. So may I come and take over the floor if you allow me to?
Je croyais que ça marcherait, Président.
Well, I thought it would work, President.
Still the master of ceremony.
Oui, I'm the master of ceremony. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much, Alain. Thank you, Mr. President Faure Yassimbe, for your availability, and as you're representing all the heads of states and government who have been in attendance and who are almost staying, because tomorrow we have the conference of heads of states of the West African Economic and Monetary Union. So thank you for being here, and thanks to the Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina.
And we appreciate your commitment. Also, we appreciate your visit to us. Merci à la vice-secrétaire générale,
thanks to the
Dr. Amina Mohamed,
Secretary
qui est également une
Amina Mohamed, one of the pride of the African continent.
Au vice-président,
thanks to the Vice President,
fierté africaine également.
Also an African pride.
Donc, vice-président de la région Afrique de la Banque mondiale.
The World Bank deputy. President, Vice President for Africa region, Hafez Ghanim, in your respective ranks, we're very happy to be actually heading to the conclusions of our deliberations of today. I would have just limited myself to the concluding remarks of the MD, giving the consistency in the views of what she just said that could entirely and fully engage the our states as the real substance of our deliberations of today. And here at the end of our sessions, and by complying with the protocol, I have to say to make an address after thanking all of you. And mine is to just tell you that the discussions that we've had today, well, after thanking the Cercle des Économies, Jean-Hervé, thanks to you and to your the entire team of Cercle des Économies. Thanks also to the International Monetary Fund team and to the Senegal team headed by Dr. Cheikh Kanté, and supported in an efficient way by the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Economy. They have assisted you. I'm not actually going to read a closing speech per se, but just to reflect what I believe are the points of consensus of our conference. And I hope I will be reflecting the spirit of partnership and collaboration in a positive manner that we wanted actually to wanted this conference actually to reflect. The conference that gathered us has been a real success on many points. First, a success given the number and quality of participants, including heads of states and government, managers of international institutions, experts, civil society members, representatives of government, including Asian. We have had representatives from China, Indonesia, inter alia, and ministries of finance from almost all the African region. Then the success also goes through the relevance and the topicality of the topic, the theme of the conference. Kristalina, as you reminded so well, it's well said in English, development durable, that soutenable, finding the right balance. Everything, the topic of the conference epitomizes everything. But the success started from the very opening with the sincerity and the serene nature of our discussion. We have discussed in a friendly manner without any taboo, and we've asked issues or questions of substance which we believe are the crux of the debt matter in connection with the sustainable development. Each and everyone, based on their own experience and their sensitivity, have contributed, made genuine inputs to the conference. Our challenge was to ensure that the Dakar conference actually brings convergence on principles that are based on consensus for a delicate imperative, meaning finding the right balance between sustainable development and sustainable debt. By revisiting our respective discourses, I may say that we have agreed at least on 7 points, 7 converging points, which I'm going to take you through. First, the need to strengthen domestic resource mobilization, including through taxation and public saving to finance development. And this is incumbent upon countries and governments, but indeed with support from partners to help us optimize our revenue. Second is the imperative of improving in a continuous way the governance of public finance and the business environment. And this also is incumbent upon states. Third, the need to consider the specific constraints related to environmental impact, particularly climate change, and spending on security in the context of terrorist shock. These are 2 points combined, the shock of climate change and the security shock. Taking that into consideration, we have noted with much interest the feedback by the MD on that aspect. It's a topic that has to be explored. And fourth point of convergence is the emergency. The emergence of investment needs in Africa, emergency needs, which are also opportunities to actually raise economic growth at the global level, because we know that if African economy fares well, it's going to impact the global economy. Every quality investment in Africa generates a positive impact for the country involved, but also a positive impact on the investors. It's highly recommended that technical and financial partners, including OECD, IMF, and World Bank, to consider the value of the potential assets and value in the debt sustainability analysis of our states. That is a high measure. It's a strong measure. That's why I said that it's highly recommended. That is to our friends of the fund in the debt sustainability analysis. The fifth point, we need to underscore the impact of unfair trade, particularly the low price of raw materials and the persisting deficit in value chain creations through local processing of commodities. The example of cocoa was mentioned this morning. We can also talk about cotton, peanut, and all production, including mining production. For us to benefit from a better price and the need to fight against tax evasion. That is also a key point, fighting against tax which raises the issue, as far as processing is concerned, this raises the issue of Africa's industrialization. Sixth point of consensus, which we extensively discussed. We discussed about the exaggerate nature of risk perception in Africa, the consequence of which leads to the high price of investment and the debt, the cost of debt. On that regard, I believe that we all agreed that there is need to further sensitize the entities and institutions that are actually contributing to the analysis of that perception, but also and also our friends from the bank and IMF are exhorted to actually produce more objective, I would say more positive or more objective rating that considers the real situation rather than general perception. In other terms, let's avoid generalizing, saying Africa is risky, Africa is this or that. This will further help us. And seventh point, we finally reasserted the need to pursue collaborations, fruitful collaborations between our countries and bilateral partners and multilateral partners to find the fundamentals for fairer global financial governance for Africa through massive investments to be one of the drivers of global growth. Here, for sure, in a summarized manner, is what I wanted to share with you as consensus highlights of our conference. Well, if it happens that these are not subject to consensus, we'll make sure it becomes so. And I'm much reliant on your efficiency and pragmatism, so I wish to rely on my colleagues, heads of states, but also on you, dear Kristalina, and on you, Amina Mohamed, on you, Rafiz, on your respective institutions, but also, dear Professor Lorenzi, on you also to actually support and amplify this Dakar message we can consider as the Dakar consensus with our partners, our bilateral, but also multilateral partners, including European Union, which is represented in this meeting. We have all our partners here, but also with private sector. On the note of hope, I declare closed the deliberations of the conference on sustainable development and sustainable debt, finding the right balance. Thank you so much.
Merci.